inappropriate use of their computers and mobile devices, and just overall their online presence. So I'll share this quick story of when Julie heard about Jane Clemente. And when I say Jane Clemente, we from up here, we remember that because of Tyler Clemente. And she heard about the story of Jane's son's death, the result of cyberbullying. She was moved to action. A teacher for the virtual school, K-12 International Academy, Julie, she felt that she needed to create a safe place for students to share, express, and learn the impacts of bullying from one another. The result was the creation of the K-12 International Academy Anti-Bullying Club. So Julie, we'd love to welcome you to the show. How are you doing?
I am doing fine. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. On the line, Julie, we also, in the studio, we have Dr. Michelle Reed also along for this conversation. But Julie, we will decrease and allow you to increase and tell your story.
Certainly. Well, yes, I actually had the opportunity to meet Jane Clemente 3 years ago. We are both involved with a nonprofit called the Reformation Project. And so I was able to meet her and kind of forge a friendship from that, and so moved, by her story and Tyler's suicide and that tragedy. And being an online teacher, I've been with K-12 since 2011. And just knowing that, it's wonderful that we have all these different opportunities for students to do charter schools and online schooling, and just knowing that so many students come to online schooling because, they've been impacted by bullying. And so wanting to provide an opportunity for them to, come together and provide support for one another, and also be very proactive as far as preventing bullying. One of the things that the Tyler Clemente Foundation launched last fall was the Day One campaign. And that's just being very proactive in whether it's your sports team or your school or your faith community, making a statement on day one that's it's not going to be tolerated, it's not acceptable. And so I've encouraged students to take that with them in their areas, and also we've used it in our club, and so it's been just a good club for the students to come to, and I've allowed them to take as much ownership and leadership as possible, and look at the areas that they really want to pursue. And so cyberbullying, being that we are an online school, has been one topic that we've discussed in depth, and they've because one of the things that can happen, I think, for students as they switch to online school is it can be somewhat isolating. And so I think that's been important for them to feel that, connection with other students that are in the same situation, and they've been able to share their stories. And we've done some role-playing scenarios where we look at situations from, the standard, being picked on in class, to some of the now more common cyberbullying issues. And different apps are coming on the market all the time, and while they're typically intended for some good purpose, people misuse them. And so I think just being aware and being able to really kind of analyze our surroundings, and hopefully turn them for the good, has been really our focus.
So, Julie, this is Dr. Michelle. Thanks for agreeing to be on the show with us this evening.
Certainly.
As a parent of twin boys, they're 12 years old, what are some of the signs as parents that we need to look out for if our children are falling prey to being victims of cyberbullying?
Right. That is an excellent question. And I think one thing, just any kind of change in behavior, kind of a strange shift in their behavior, asking them, kind of good questions as far as, I think, I have 3 young children myself, and sometimes we just get into that like rut of like, well, how was your day? And but asking them more leading questions and asking them, did you feel safe? Did you, specific questions, putting, computers in common areas in your home, I think is important. And also checking there, obviously so many people are on mobile devices now, but checking what apps they're using and their usage, and changing, if you notice anything, making sure that they're changing their email addresses. Anytime if you walk into a room and suddenly, your student, your child is closing the screen really quick or putting away their device, that kind of suspicious behavior.
Okay. And then what about from the aspects, once the children are enrolled into your program, what type of psychological support do you give them? And then at the same time, with them being a part of this, how do you sort of, I guess, reintroduce them to developing safe or developing relationships in general that they feel comfortable in?
Right. So the students are provided a lot of support when they're enrolling in the school. I actually teach as a high school math teacher. This is my official position with K-12's International Academy. And then one of the ways that we offer them support, our full-time students are able to be a part of several club offerings. And so the specific club that I launched at the International Academy last fall was the Anti-Bullying Club. And so we make our students aware of those opportunities. Each fall we have an online club rush session where students can attend and learn about all the opportunities to get plugged in and get involved. And my club is one of those offerings. And then each student is paired with an academic success coach and a school, kind of coordinator who then just really helps that transition to online schooling.
So Julie, October, we're at the tail end of it, but October is National Bullying Prevention Month. With the great things that you and your club and everything that you're doing at K-12 International Academy, how do we extend this so that, it's more than just this specific month? How do we get your message out? And are there any plans to extend it, your club nationally or globally?
Right. At this point, I don't know of any plans to extend the club. I have kind of presented to other K-12 teachers because K-12, again, manages several state charter schools as well as then some private school options such as the International Academy. And truly we have students from around the globe at the International Academy. One of my student leaders this year is actually in Saudi Arabia. And so it's an incredible opportunity for students to come together and I think really learn on the global level, even that we have more similar than we do different, more similarities than differences. And so the students, get to share things that are specific to them. And really, I think one thing that they're finding as far as the true prevention of bullying comes from reaching out to the people that are the bystanders that observe the bullying, but they don't really want to put their neck out there because maybe they're not the one being bullied, and they're not the perpetrator, they're not the one doing the bullying, but they're truly those kind of front lines that can cause the shift and stand up for what's right. And that's another thing. I know with K-12 they had like the Zero Bullying campaign, and there's places where you can again, the Tyler Clementi Foundation, you can sign an upstander pledge that like, no, I'm not going to be a bystander, I'm going to be an upstander, and I'm going to step up for what's right, and even even if maybe I don't feel comfortable standing up to the bully because I would be putting my own safety at risk, like I'm at least going to come beside the person being bullied because, recognizing that, wow, they need to feel like someone sees them and empathizes with them and is in their corner. And so just sometimes coming alongside the victim and being there to encourage them and support them and lift them up is huge.
Perfect. Julie, want to thank you for taking the time out tonight. Before you go, wanted to just double back, and for any of our listeners, if you can promote ways of getting in contact with you or your organization, your school, on if they wanted any additional information.
Certainly. So if you wanted to probably the quickest way would be to Google K-12 International Academy, and our school website would come up. You can certainly send an inquiry and be in touch with me. I am happy to share what I'm doing. And then again, the Tyler Clementi Foundation and their website, I mentioned, that their Day One campaign and their Upstander pledge, and just having those conversations, and I think encouraging our children to shift the tide. I think sometimes I catch myself as a parent always just telling my children what to do instead of allowing them to build that character and recognize what's wrong and have a voice and stand up for that. So I think that's important.
Gotcha. Julie, I want to we both want to thank you for your anti-bullying club, because you tonight were a great example of how an online environment is bringing students together rather than serving as a space for cyberbullying.
Thank you so much.